We live in a twilight world. Let's do Attack of the Drones Part 3. Yeah? All this drone mythology sending everyone loopy. Yeah? I've only listened in the last couple of weeks, I've only listened to 3 podcasts. And they're very separate in their kind of fields, right? One's a comedian. One is actually kind of, I'd put it in the conspiracy kind of alternative media. And the other one is pretty much a news report. And from a normie point of view, all 3 of them are talking about the drones over New Jersey. So it must be a big thing. I haven't really heard anything about it here out on the streets or on the ground in the UK. But then again, I don't really have deep conversations with anyone. So I don't know what people over here in the UK are saying about them. I don't know whether things have been seen or not. I have seen some very peculiar what I call sky theatre in my lifetime. And I'll talk about that in another video. I'm going to do so many of these little videos. But this time I want to talk about, I'm going to call it I Want to Believe and put it under the Inception warfare bracket. And what I mean by that is by Inception warfare, I kind of have like 3 areas of illusion warfare. There's Inception warfare, immersive warfare, and information warfare. Yeah, in-formation. Inception warfare is when they put an idea into your mind, and that obviously creates theatre of the mind. And when you have the theatre in the mind, when it moves then to immersive, 4D fully immersive theatre, when they start putting out the props, set dressings and costumes out there in the physical world, because you've already got the idea in your mind, you've already got the theatre in your mind programmed within you via Inception. And yes, I mean Inception like the film with Leonardo DiCaprio, the Chris Nolan film about planting ideas into your subconscious. When that's already done, the masses then quite easily, in my opinion, very robotically, very mechanically, very TikTok-y play out that theatre a lot more easier. They're a lot more willing to accept it, right? So that's what I mean by Inception warfare. If you know me, you know what I'm talking about. But if you're quite new here, if this is the first ever video you watch, I'm sure if you go back and watch my other videos and stuff, you'll kind of get what I mean by Inception warfare. So if you remember some time ago, again, was it last year or the year before? You remember it was put out there, preloaded into the subconscious of the collective, that there was going to be auroras hitting, further south than usual in places like the UK and even in parts of America, right? And of course, every Tom, Dick and Muhammad went out there with their smartphones and took pictures of what they claimed was the aurora. And they all done that same thing where they messed around with the settings on their phone to make it as purple as possible, right? But the point I'm trying to make, and I went out and checked the auroras myself, and there was something in the sky, but it was very faint and very grey. It's just like a very faint grey cloud that was kind of like very straight, like beams of light going at angles. And don't get me wrong, these northern lights, or the aurora, whatever you want to call it, were very impressive. I don't want to take away from how impressive they were, but they were not purple, they were not green. And the only way you could get them to be purple and green... Hang on, let me have a swig of my water. The only way you could get it to be that purple and that green was to fuck around with the settings on your phone. Or, what I believe is there was some kind of big thing going on with all of the smartphones where with these AI cameras, they were doing it for you, right? Right? Because it wouldn't be hard for the AI technology within your Apple or Google phone to work out that you were going out and pointing your fucking phone at the sky at the time they told you it was going to be an aurora, and then they automatically messed around with the aperture and the shutter speed or whatever to make it look very purple. And of course, then everyone took to the internet, TikTok warfare, the real Project Bluebeam and uploaded their pictures, right? And there was just purple everywhere. Purple, purple, purple. And as we know, purple is the color of illusion. But the point I'm trying to make here is every Tom, Dick and Mohammed out there in the Matrix wanted to be a part of this. And that's a big problem we have in the world, is we have that people that want to be, they want to participate. They want to be a part of something and they want to believe in this stuff. And I don't blame them, because once you take away all the illusions or the fiction, the world is a very boring place. I'm happy to admit that. It's a very cruel and dark place as well. So I kind of have empathy and sympathy, and I get it. I get it that people want to believe and they want to be a part of something. Just because a large percentage of the masses claim to have seen it, that doesn't necessarily mean it's true. I think it's okay for us to accept that a lot of people see things that are not there. Yeah. One thing I'm pretty sure we can say with confidence is a lot of the masses are not very observant. Their awareness is literally at a very, very low, on a scale of awareness, like being very good at it and being very poor at it. The vast majority of people are very poor when it comes to situational awareness, visual awareness, audio awareness, experience awareness. They're not very reliable when it comes to what is really happening out there in the world. You've got to remember, most people have had a lifetime of programming put into their heads. Most people have a very boring life. They want to be a part of something. And at the end of the day, everything you experience is just a load of electrical sparks in your brain, right? So yeah, just because people say they see something doesn't mean it's actually happening. And that's the importance of human intelligence from a very, very reliable source. Someone that's got no skin in the game, that's not interested in becoming famous or likes, shares and views or popularity, that are just going to give an honest experience about what happens. And I like to think that I'm in that category, right? And that's why I don't trust the average YouTuber, because the average YouTuber or TikToker or Instagrammer or blogger, whatever, their whole goal is to sell their, YouTube video or TikTok video or whatever, their blog. And to do that, they have to sensationalize what's happening. So in many ways, they're just as bad as the mainstream media. They have to get people to engage with their content. And you do that with sensationalism, yeah? Now, there's no doubt that with these drones that are flying over New Jersey, people are going to connect them with aliens or extraterrestrials and UFOs. Yeah, the whole mythology of UFOs, UFOology as they call it, and its connection with aliens from outer space and abduction. And yeah, let's talk about Betty and Barney Hill. Now, this is regarded as the first kind of major well-known incident of people, humans, claiming to have seen UFOs and then be abducted by them, right? I can't remember the exact story, and I don't want to dig up the whole Betty and Barney Hill. If I remember correctly, this couple from New Hampshire, I believe, claimed they saw a UFO and then had a load of missing time. Yeah, hours just vanished out of their life. And I think they reported it to the Air Force discreetly. And this, by the way, I'm not saying any of this is true. These guys could be actors, or they could be part of the US Air Force or a secret society. Who knows about Betty and Barney Hill? I'm not going to go down that road today. But yeah, the story goes they reported it to the correct people. I think it comes under Project Blue Book. Yeah, I think the Air Force, US Air Force, is in charge of tracking all of these kind of sightings. And yeah, apparently it was leaked to the local press, and then they became like kind of celebrities, right? But the thing about this whole claiming to have seen UFOs and been abducted, none of this started happening until after the concept of aliens, UFOs, extraterrestrials and abductions, beings from outer space, was put into the collective consciousness via the Black Mirror, yeah? The television, because it tells you a vision. The television puts ideas into your minds, right? Yeah, so the masses, people out there, the general public, none of this stuff started happening or being experienced, or the claim of it being experienced, none of it started happening until after the Black Mirror, yeah, the television started putting these ideas into people's heads. Yeah. This version of the TV, yeah, the idiot box, the one that sits in your corner of your room, this was the first ever commercial Black Mirror. The concept of a Black Mirror, or mirrors in general, but especially a mirror that's reflecting back a dark reality back upon you, the observer, has been around for, well, since the dawn of time, right? Scrying mirrors and all this kind of business. But commercially, the TV was the first ever Black Mirror deliberately sold to people with the idea of influencing reality and mind control, right? The television, because it tells you a vision. Betty and Barney Hill incident, I believe it was 1961 it happened. Don't quote me on that. But it wasn't until 1965 that it became, that they went public with it, right? Now, either way, it's the 60s that this happened, in the 60s. This is after almost a decade of sci-fi films. Yeah, the 1950s sci-fi films such as The Day the Earth Stood Still, The Thing from Another World. The film version of The War of the Worlds, the one set in California in 1953. Forbidden Planet, When Worlds Collide. Invasion of the Saucer Men, Prometheus, Invisible Invaders, The Queen from Outer Space. It Came from Outer Space. Isn't there like an actual like Mars Attacks, not the comedy version, but the 1950s version? You get where I'm going, yeah? A whole decade of this stuff being inserted into the minds of the masses, yeah? Getting buried into the conscious and the subconscious. And this, of course, affects, thought. Thought becomes belief, belief becomes reality, and so on. So yeah, I'm sure you get where I'm going with this. Betty and Barney Hill and the likes of Betty and Barney Hill, members of the public claiming to have experienced seeing a UFO or an abduction. It didn't start happening in the numbers that it did until after Hollywood, and not just Hollywood, just the film industry in general all across the world. Film and television started putting the concept into people's minds. We live in the twilight world. There are no friends at dusk.